Throughout your journey, guitar practice will go from fun to boring to repetitive to new in an ever-repeating cycle, but there's always a few things you can do to always maximize your growth to make sure you still get to the point where you're still having fun and constantly improving. And the first focus is actually making sure you're getting the most out of your guitar practice. One thing I've learned in my experience is sometimes it can feel a little more fun to be sporadic for 15 minutes and then go do something else, come back in 15 minutes, and keep doing these 15-minute cycles. But when I wasn't progressing as fast as I used to be, it took me 4 seconds to look back and realize that not having an extended period of time was secretly killing my progression. When you sit into having at least an hour to more in a row of playing, you get into a more deep flow state that actually accelerates your learning. And if you kind of go 15 on, off, which is running out of things to practice. When you keep going in and out, you just kind of just play songs. You're not really thinking, and that you're not really experiencing boredom where you have to think, why does this sound bad? Why does it sound awful? You kind of extended time frames, you can do something back. If you do not have any documentation of your journey, how good you were yesterday versus last month versus last year, and even when you were a beginner. Your growth, you just want to record these videos of specific songs. And the reason you want to do specific songs is because if you don't have anything to measure across. So what I would recommend is to just pick 5 to 8 of your absolute favorite songs you want to listen back to and how many different things are influenced. You want to do at least something that has a lot of emphasis on chord, good filler parts, and of course a couple other songs that you just want to know you're progressing well on. And when you hit every single one of those quotas, you're going to be improving in the most essential ways, but that's only for playing music and not understanding it. Because where I made that I guarantee you're making is you focus too much on technique and throw theory out the window, because online, complete lie, people will tell you. Everything about understanding guitar comes down to theory, and luckily, you don't actually have to know it on that deep, intricate level. You have to really understand notes, scales, intervals, and everything that extends onto that, such as chords, melody, and chord-melody relationships, and function. And to expand on the idea of having an hour of deep focused progress, there's also ways you can progress on the guitar while just doing daily home activities. When you're up in bed looking at your phone, if you start learning about music theory, whether it's applied on harmony, when you learn these things off the guitar neck, you are actively progressing on guitar, maybe not in the technical finger skill, but your brain sure as hell is learning. And another thing you can do while you're driving or sitting at school on your desk while you're bored is you can teach yourself good internal rhythm and tracking to a metronome, because your hands are what you use to play guitar, and your hands are what you can use to slap your thighs, slap your chest, whatever, to start tagging along to rhythms, whether you're making your own metronome like this, or you're counting off a metronome, or you're kind of just learning how to make distinct patterns between your hands. There's not necessarily a wrong answer, but doing these off guitar things to build your guitar progress is the quickest way to increase your hours spent on guitar, which will give you more output. And if you do those two things, you'll progress faster than you ever have, but there's still one big issue, which is unfortunately the biggest issue among everybody. If you can consistently practice every single day, you will be better than almost everybody else. It's easy to play slightly sporadically throughout the other 4. But if you play an hour and a half every day instead of doing some very sporadic timing, it will show. Now, and of course, I'm not saying never have longer, never have shorter days, but the element of overall consistency and practicing everything I've told you consistently, increasing your off guitar hours by looking at rhythm and theory, and then of course, doing techniques for a longer period of time instead of sporadic, tracking yourself to make sure this is all working. That, when paired with consistency and not taking these week-long, month-long breaks because you just power through it, you use consistency, able to master the guitar neck a lot easier because you have so many hours just compounding. And of course, the visual aspect, this is your growth. If you do it very sporadically, you will see more peaks and troughs like that. However, when you pair it with the consistency I have told you about, instead of doing this, you get to the same place faster, and you have a lot less of these stressful break periods, and everything is going to, and the most important part is you're not going to be bored as often because you're going to be constantly being slowly introduced to new things. And of course, novelty is what makes guitar fun. Nothing is ever as fun as when you're first figuring it out and you know nothing and there's everything to learn. And the only caveat to that is, of course, playing live. If you want more simple guitar content like this, subscribe for more content.